More of the Zach Gelb Show on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey.
Welcome back. Gary Cohen of SNY last night on the big Wilmer Flores home run put the Mets up, and the Mets didn't look back. 9-7 victory to open the series up against the Washington Nationals tonight. Big matchup on the mound between Thor and Strasburg. Wilmer Flores once again not in the lineup, even though he had the big pinch hit home run last night. And now joining us on the hotline, does a tremendous job, Mets pre and post on SNY, and that is Gary Apple. Gary, Zach Gelb, thanks for a few minutes, and how are you?
My pleasure, Zach. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on. So why no Wilmer Flores tonight? I just don't get it. He's red hot.
Well, you know, it's tough, and Terry has said that it's going to be difficult to try and get Reyes and Flores in the lineup on a nightly basis together. And listen, while it is a bit perplexing, the one thing Terry said last night was before the game, look, I'm going to try to find spots where I can find Wilmer for him to succeed. And obviously, you found a spot for him last night to succeed. That was a huge 3-run home run. He's been on fire. But listen, this is a problem of wealth right now. And when the Mets went on this run post-trade deadline last year, they did so when they had a number of different pieces. It wasn't just Cespedes who they acquired, but it was Johnson, it was Uribe, and they had professionals up and down that bench. And I think Terry has gotten back to that right now. He's got Johnson, he's got Flores, he's got pieces on his bench that give him that length, that ability to go to his bench, and I think we saw that at its very best last night.
It's certainly a good problem to have, and you do make a good point. But here's the one thing, and this is why I think that they should put Flores in the lineup tonight, especially with the way that he's hitting the baseball right now with 5 home runs in his last few games. Originally during that day game, they were going to have Loney get benched, and they were going to put Flores on out there, but then Cabrera had to get scratched, so they put Reyes at short and Flores at third. Why not give Loney a night off either last night or tonight, especially when Flores is that hot?
You know, bottom line is at the end of the day, Loney's your best defensive first baseman, and I think they like that defense. I think we saw Flores have a little bit of trouble footwork the other day at first base. I think Loney gives you that defensive first base. I think he also gives you that left-handed bat in the lineup. So I personally, as much as I want to see Wilmer in the lineup on a nightly basis, I can't question Terry right now. Mets are 47-38. They're coming on strong before the All-Star break, and everything he's touching. And again, I go back to last year when the Mets went through that great stretch. Every move that Terry made seemed to turn into gold, and I think we're seeing a little bit of that right now. Now, again, if they lose tonight, Strasburg beats them up, and they don't get anywhere, I can see where the argument can be made. But Terry is doing things right now that are working, and until they stop working, I won't question him.
The jitters, Jose Reyes in his first game were evident. He went 0 for 4, but ever since he's bounced back nicely, had the 2 doubles, and then last night gets the big home run in the Coca-Cola corner. What's been your impressions on the return of Jose?
I think he's been great. I think, look, his re-signing was a controversial thing. I can certainly see where some were against it. And I've mentioned this on the air, that what went on with Jose off the field is a huge issue, and it's a huge issue in my mind. Listen, everybody deserves a second chance. I understand it, but I can see the other side where people who do not agree with this move are upset about it. So I understand that. From an on-the-field standpoint, he has given them at the top of the lineup that energy that they have been missing, that speed at the top of the lineup, and even more than that. And we talk about lengthening the lineup, and Darno being back has done that. He's been hot hitting in the 8-hole. And Reyes allows Granderson to move down and hit second, and we've seen how productive Granderson has been in that 2-hole. So I think it's more than just Jose at the top of the lineup, but it's what it does really to the whole lineup. You put Granderson in front of Cespedes, and it really changes the complexion of the lineup. And hopefully he will continue to be the catalyst. And again, he hasn't stolen a base yet, got picked off last night. But I think he gives them the one thing that they don't have. This is a team without very much speed at the moment. David Wright, of all people, it leads them in stolen bases. And Reyes gives them that element of speed, which they so desperately need.
I was in the clubhouse when the Mets defeated Arrieta, and Colon, who's now going to the All-Star game, pitched well in that one. And you saw David was in the clubhouse, talked to the media the night before. I know he's not playing, but how much did David being in the clubhouse, the captain, really help this team through this rough stretch after that National Series to turn things around?
I think it helps a lot, Zach. I mean, he has been the face of this franchise for a long time now. His presence goes a long way. I think we saw it last year when he came back after being out for much of the season. He is a calming force. He's in many ways, as I say, not just the face of the franchise, but the conscience of the franchise for many years now. And so just having him around, I think, lifts everybody up a little bit. And, if you ever want to root for somebody to come back and revive their career, it's David Wright. He is just one of the class acts we have seen in the game for a very long time. And I think it's not a coincidence because we saw how quiet the bats were in Washington when they got swept away last week. At one point, I think they went 23 consecutive innings without scoring a run, and then they come back home and things have changed against the Cubs and the Marlins, and now Washington. But I think David, his presence cannot be, even though he's not in the lineup, his presence cannot be overlooked.
How about Big Sexy? He's the most interesting man in baseball, and he goes to the All-Star game, Gary, and it's in San Diego, of all places, where he had the big home run.
Well, listen, he's a great story. I think his leg could be bothering him a little bit. Might have added to what
he said
the
that.
issues that he had last night. So that's something worth keeping an eye on. But we were talking in the office a short time ago. As good a story as it is for Cologne, and he won his first All-Star game back in 1998. I think he was the winning pitcher for the American League out in Colorado. But maybe it should have been Addison Reed. If you want to talk about a guy who's been tremendous in that eighth-inning role, Reed has been that guy. So Addison maybe deserving more so than Bartolo, but at 43 years old, as you mentioned, the wily veteran, Big Sexy, a great story, and cannot begrudge him for a second, because where would the Mets be without Bartolo Colon? One of, and a lot has been made of the Cespedes, signing during the offseason, but where would the Mets be without Bartolo Colon? He has been a major glue piece to that rotation.
I don't love All-Star games. I think it's a joke that the World Series is decided by what happens in the All-Star game with the home field advantage. But I don't even want to see Bart pitch in the All-Star game, Gary. I just want to see him get one more swing in San Diego.
That would be great. What would really be great, Zach, would be to see him in the home run derby. Now that would be that would draw some eyeballs to the television set.
He wouldn't do it. That's too much energy for Bartolo.
No, he wouldn't do it, but it would certainly be entertaining. But listen, this guy is, as I like to say on the air, he's a Rembrandt, he's a Picasso. He is such a wily veteran. The ability at 43 years old with really one pitch, the two-seam and the fourth-seam fastball, to get guys out at the rate that he does. He's a marvel, and he's fun for us certainly to watch here on a nightly basis when he pitches.
All right, now let's get to the negative in the rotation. Harvey's going to be out for the year with the surgery. I think it was a no-brainer. He had to get the surgery. I know there was ways that you couldn't have got the surgery, but it clearly wouldn't have been as effective.
Well, listen, he needed to get this surgery done if he's going to continue his baseball career. There's no question about that. He was 4-10 on the season, and the Mets find themselves, leading the wild card and just 3 games behind Washington, 2 in the loss column. They've had success even with Matt struggling the way he did this year. I really believe, as much of a presence as he is, and you cannot overlook that, I do believe they can be successful without Matt Harvey. Listen, with this thoracic outlet syndrome, you just don't know. I mean, you see guys like Carpenter in St. Louis, it really ended his career. But guys have come back from this. Chris Young came back from this, and others have as well. So you hope that it, is a success and that he can come back. And, by having the surgery right now, he comes back unencumbered. You hope for next season and can be a major part of the Mets rotation. And then you hope just for him as a man and a professional that he'll have a long career. And so I think the prudent thing for him to do right now is to have this surgery and try and revive his career moving forward.
Gary Apple joins us. So the short-term plan now is Logan Verrett. Do you think it's going to work? And also, what are your expectations looking at the big picture when Wheeler comes back up? And I would assume that would be sometime in August.
Well, there's no guarantee when Zach Wheeler's going to come back. We heard Sandy yesterday. The plan originally was for Zach Wheeler to come back right around the All-Star break, right after the All-Star break. And now that's not going to happen. So he's at least a month away. You've got to figure when he starts a rehab assignment, that's another 30 days. And here we are, heading towards the middle of July. So you've got to figure now, are we going to see him before the middle of August? I don't think so. So when will we see Zach Wheeler back? How much of an impact can he have? I think those are great unknowns. There's no guarantee we'll see him back at all this year. So I wouldn't be shocked when you think about, will Sandy make a move at the All-Star at the trade deadline if they go out and try to get another arm? I think they'll go after an arm before they go after a bat.
Now, isn't that funny, especially the way that you looked at it in the first half of the year with the Mets? Now, pitching could be a need with the lack of depth.
Well, the pitching is so fragile, and Sandy has said this, and Terry has said it, and I've always believed this, that you can think you have a surplus of pitching, and it never turns out to be the case. Guys are going to get hurt. It happens every single year. You cannot have enough pitching. You cannot have enough starting pitching. And ever, if that was on display, it's on display with the Mets this season.
Now, I respect your opinion greatly, so I have to ask you about last night with the sliding and Jason Worth, and I'll take it back to Chase Utley. I thought the Chase Utley play in this era of baseball was dirty, and to me, when you make a slide now, you have to give yourself up before the bag. I don't know what a slide is, though, anymore. Did you have a problem with the call last night in the ninth?
Listen, I have a problem with the rules of the game in general right now. The fact that they've taken out the collision at home plate because of the Buster Posey play, one of the most exciting plays in baseball. The double play, the turning of the double play, again, one of the most exciting plays in baseball. That has, in many ways, been taken out of the game. By the letter of the law, the umpires made the right call last night. It was a late slide, and he slid past the bag, and that is how the rule is written up right now. And you've got to call it because another part of that rule is the fact that you insist on who's going to turn that double play staying on the bag. The neighborhood play is over. So by the letter of the law, the right call was made, but I do not like the rule as it's drawn up right now, and that's just the way it is right now with the game. They've taken out two of the most exciting plays in the game, and that's the home plate collision, the ability for the base runner to try and take out the catcher, and the ability to go in hard to second base, try to break up a double play.
It's like football. I don't know what a catch is anymore, and then baseball, I don't know what a slide is like anymore, but it certainly adds to this Mets-Nationals rivalry.
You know what, Zach? Let me just say this. I believe in trying to keep guys healthy. Careers are fragile to begin with. I'm all for trying to keep guys healthy and on the field. But the game has been played this way for a long time, and not that I'm a great traditionalist, but this is the way the game is played, and to take those plays out of the game, I miss them. I'll just put it like that.
All right, well, let's take a look at this Mets-Nationals rivalry. Harper tries to shush the Citi Field fans up last night. You have the Murphy storyline. This is starting to really become a fun rivalry. It really all started last year, Gary.
It's a really good rivalry. I mean, there are great personalities on both sides. You mentioned, Harper is, no matter what you think of Bryce Harper, he's good for the game. He's got a bravado.
You're right.
I'm not sure I believe in everything that he believes in, that the game has gotten boring and you've got to do things to show people up, and I think there's a very fine line there. So I don't think I agree with everything Bryce Harper says, but I think he's good for the game, and I love the fact that the Mets have a guy like Syndergaard on their side who really buys into his whole persona, the Thor persona. So I think there are great storylines on both sides. Really good starting pitching on both sides. You've got frontline starting pitching on the Washington side with Strasburg and Scherzer in the Mets right now with DeGrom and Syndergaard and Matt. So I just think it's a very compelling rivalry. You've got Dusty in the Nats dugout now. You've got Terry Collins, who can be fiery in the Mets dugout. So, yeah, I mean, great rivalries help lead to fun pennant drives and pennant races. I think we saw it last year, and I think we're seeing it again this season.
Now, before we let Gary Apple run, Mets pre and post on SNY does a brilliant job. Daniel Murphy, he's just been killing the Mets ever since really his return. He killed it in the postseason, and now I know what it was like to see what Murphy did in the postseason because I see it almost every night. I don't get how he's not starting the All-Star game. That's just a joke with the fan voting. But what I want to ask you is, was it a mistake for the Mets to let Murphy walk?
I don't think so. I don't think it was. Listen, we know what Daniel Murphy is, and he is a professional hitter. And I, as a baseball player would say, Zach, I tip my hat to Daniel Murphy. He's led the league in hitting all season long. He's a professional hitter. He's one of the best hitters in the game. The little things that Murphy does, though, that have you scratching your head from time to time, and maybe even a little bit more than that, to me, were the impetus for the Mets deciding, you know what, we're going to let him go. And quite frankly, I didn't have a problem with it. Despite his hot start, I still don't have a problem with it. I think Neil Walker has done a terrific job. The Cabrera-Walker double play combination has been tremendous. And the fact that Walker is hit for power, he's got 15 home runs coming up to the All-Star break. I really do not have a problem with the Mets' decision right here. And even going forward, Walker's in a walk year Will they re-sign him? Will they bring up Dilson Herrera? What will they do along those lines? Will they put Flores at second base? I think they have options moving forward. So I had no problem with the decision when it came to Murphy, and I still don't.
Are you working with Todd Zeal again tonight?
Todd's in the studio again tonight. He's a tremendous guy, and we've known each other for many, many years. It's been great to get reunited with Todd, and he brings an interesting take. Here's a guy who played 16 years in the big leagues, came up as considered to be the next Johnny Bench when he came up, and then spent the majority of his career at third base and first base, and played for 11 different teams, and so he gives us a great perspective and. Somebody who I have known for a long time, enjoy as a person, enjoyed him as a player, and really it's been terrific to have him in the studio with us this week.
Yeah, I was at his final game at Shea Stadium where he hit the home run, so bring that up to him again.
That was pretty good stuff, hitting a home run his last at-bat in the big leagues.
No doubt about it. Gary Apple, tremendous job. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Zach. Have a good weekend.